Hey, this is Jexy, and welcome to the Systems Alliance. In this video, we're going to go over the box office and see what exactly Avengers is doing. Now, something I like to do is to go over where it is adjusted. Every time you look at the box office or look at ranks or hear that a movie is the #1 movie in history or in a single month, they're always talking about unadjusted. And the difference between unadjusted and adjusted is, of course, inflation. So obviously movie tickets back in the day used to cost a lot less. A movie making $500 million then compared to $1 billion now, depending on how long ago it is, that could literally be double the total gross that movie took in. So I wanted to go over this weekend's box office. The first one I want to focus on is Avengers Infinity War. Obviously, huge movie, record-breaking opening weekend, unadjusted. That was at $257 million here domestically. Also domestically includes Canada. It's just for those of you who are unaware. So it's United States and Canada that those numbers are always for. Worldwide, huge as well. It crossed $1 billion this weekend when it dropped 55% domestically and brought in $114 million. Total to date, it's at $453 million here in the United States. So already a smash hit. Now overseas, it's at $737 million already. Add those together and you get $1,190 million. Already a record for crossing $1 billion when it did. Now, of course, records for when it crosses a certain amount don't really mean that much. China's a huge factor as well. Either way, massive opening. But where does that rank it against other Marvel movies? Just to let you know, this past weekend, it passed Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3, and those are all adjusted. So adjusted, you may think, oh, Spider-Man 2 and 3, those never reached $1 billion, but once you adjust them, Spider-Man 2 is at $1.158 billion, and Spider-Man 3 is at $1.188 billion. Massive numbers all around, and obviously those were for their entire run, whereas Infinity War is basically just getting started. Up next, since Infinity War does sit at $1,190 million, would be Captain America Civil War. Adjusted, it's at $1,213 million. And then after that is the original Spider-Man, just a shade under $1.3 billion. Up next, Iron Man 3, $1,331 million. Black Panther, which is still going strong at $1,338 million. And that's good for number 3 overall in Marvel. And then you have Avengers Age of Ultron at just over $1.5 billion, and then the original Avengers at $1,720 million, and that's adjusted. So the real question is, can Infinity War catch the first Avengers? Taking a look at it and where it's at, I'm going to definitely say yes. Yes, it can. Yes, it will. Domestic adjusted, the Avengers actually is still holding the lead over Black Panther. $705 million. That's bringing it up from, I believe, $623 million unadjusted, whereas Black Panther's at $693 million. Just a bit short of Avengers. I think Black Panther will end up passing the Avengers, and I also think Infinity War will end up passing the original Avengers as well. Really what's going to send Infinity War over the edge to be the #1 movie that Marvel's put out of all time is going to be its foreign gross. Adjusted, Avengers still holds that title at just over $1 billion. Actually barely squeaking out what Age of Ultron did overseas by $1 million. So not much difference there. Whereas Infinity War is already at $737 million. In such a short amount of time, with so many countries out there that are now hooked on Marvel's movies, I think we're going to see not just it passing the $1.72 billion of the original Avengers, I think we're going to see it passing $2 billion. It's just a massive hit. Domestically, I think it's going to end up maybe in the $750 million range. Right now, its legs are barely ahead of Black Panther's. Black Panther, I think, is going to end up being in like the low 700s range, maybe just topping the domestic adjusted take of the original Avengers, maybe 708, 710 million. But right now, if Infinity War is tracking just a bit above Black Panther, it already has a $50 million lead thanks to its opening. So when you add those together, we're looking at maybe 750 million, maybe 760, who knows, maybe even 780. 800 right now seems a little strong. We'll have to see how the legs hold up. It did only drop 55% this weekend from the largest opening weekend ever. All that being said, if you want to know how that's comparing to the biggest releases of all time as far as openings go, it's still quite far behind Star Wars. No surprise there. Star Wars, The Force Awakens, that is, massive opening. Avengers beat it that opening weekend, but every single day after that, Star Wars has had the advantage. Now, it came out at a different time. Kids weren't in school, maybe the winter break. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Star Wars is just a cultural phenomenon, and we're also talking about a massive domestic take for Star Wars. Star Wars, you could call it the biggest property in the world, but what a lot of people don't understand is that outside it's actually not as popular as people think. Still hugely popular, but normally with these huge movies, you'll have a foreign gross double that of its domestic, whereas Star Wars is closer to 1-1. It's a little surprising. There's more content out there. So, you got your Fast and Furious movies. Those overseas are doing really, really well. But it took years of multiple movies to get up to that level. Same with Marvel. The original Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, the original Captain America, those didn't make a ton of money. The original Thor, they were around $500 million or so, sometimes even less. And compared to these numbers, it doesn't seem like it would have ever been that way, but it was. They were actually, some of them, getting more money here than overseas. But once you build up that overseas audience, you then start to really see the numbers build. And that's why I think Disney is releasing their Star Wars movies every year now. We got the Han Solo movie coming in. Hopefully it's good. I'm not too excited about it. I've gone to the movies with people who have seen the trailer for it, and the response is it looks bad. So I can't argue with them yet. Hopefully I can later, and I can tell them that it's a great movie. We're getting off subject. Personally, I don't think that they should do these movies about Star Wars characters that we already know. It kind of ruins the mystery, especially of, say, a Han Solo. Focus on, say, the Old Republic or something cool like that we've never explored in live action. Back to the box office. What do you think about Infinity War's numbers? Where do you think it's going to end up? Do you think it will beat the Avengers, adjusted at $1.72 billion? Do you think it can crack 1.8 or even 2 billion? Do you think it's going to go even higher? Do you think it's going to have the legs? Do you think China's really just going to blast it off into the $2.3 billion range? Let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and we'll see you next time.